So, somebody gave me the idea of reading a more older children's book and reading a chapter a day. So, since the only one I've got that is really child appropriate is the Chistmasaurus by Tom Fletcher at the moment, I have got other books on order, but until they come, we're going to start with the Chistmasaurus. No, it's not Christmas, but let's just go with it. It's a bit of a difficult time, so I'm sure people won't mind that I'm reading a Christmas story. So, we are going to be going on an adventure with a boy called William Trundle, his dad Mr. Bob Trundle, Santa, lots of elves, Brenda Payne, the meanest girl in the school, possibly the world, a very nasty piece of work called the Hunter and his dog Growler, and of course a dinosaur called the Chistmasaurus. So that's everyone we're going on an adventure with. So, read you the prologue, the end of the dinosaurs. This story starts like all good stories do, a long time ago. Not just a long time ago, but a very, very, very long time ago. Squillions of years ago. In fact, long before your granny and your granddad were born, before there were any human beings at all, before cars and aeroplanes, even before there was the internet, there was something even better. Dinosaurs! Dinosaurs were the most awesome creatures ever to walk the planet. There were lots of them, and they came in all shapes and sizes. There were small ones. There were not much bigger ones than dogs or cats, some with spiky prickle horns on their backs. There were stupendously ginormous ones called Chistmasaurus that were longer than 5 double-decker buses, with necks thicker than tree trunks and skin like the hard rubber tyres of a tractor. I know that sounds hard to believe, but it's definitely true, because this is a book, and books don't lie. I'd like to tell you about 2 very special dinosaurs. We'll call them Momosaurus and Diplodocus. Those weren't their real names, of course. That would just be silly. Momosaurus and Diplodocus have been out all day in the hot, hot heat of the prehistoric sun, and were returning home to tidy their little nest. But what they found in its place was something horrendously horrible. An almighty pile of rocks, bones, and dust. Their home had been raided by evil scavenger dinosaurs, and these sneaky, scroungy little scavengers had smashed up their home good and proper. But Momosaurus and Diplodocus, their mess was the last thing on their minds, because they had left their most precious things alone inside the nest. 12 dinosaur eggs, which were now nowhere to be seen. As you can imagine, Momosaurus and Diplodocus were devastated. They stood in the wreckage of their nest, weeping and roaring for a very long time, until the sun went down and the moon and stars filled above the jungle. That night a light breeze was blowing through the enormous trees, and a sliver of silvery moonlight found its way to the remains of the nest. Suddenly, something caught Diplodocus's eye. Something smooth and shiny was reflecting a moonbeam from under a pile of bones and mud. He quickly and gently lifted the rocks and the rubble, and there it was, gleaming perfect perfectly unharmed in the moonlight. It was their one last egg. How this one and only egg had escaped the hungry scavengers' rampage was a mystery. Perhaps their greedy tummies were full up, or maybe this egg had rolled out of sight when they were smashing and crushing the others. Whatever the reason, all that mattered was that Mummisaurus and Diplodocus had one egg left. The tiny dinosaur was curled up safely inside that egg, became the most important thing in the world to them. And they weren't going to let anything bad happen to it ever again. But something bad was about to happen. Something that would change the world forever. Something big. Something astronomically, intergalactically, outer spacey, wacy big. The pearly moonlight that blanketed the dinosaur's broken nest suddenly seemed to turn yellow. Then the yellow turned orange, and then to a hot, fiery red. Mummisaurus and Diplodocus peeped out from their home, staring in disbelief. It was as though the moon itself was on fire. As they watched, the whole sky turned into a violent firework display of whizzing hot rocks and shooting stars. And not the kind of shooting stars that you and I know, which swoosh prettily over the sky like beautiful little scratches of light in space. These ones didn't swoosh by at all. These ones smashed straight down like red-hot thunderbolts that exploded into thousands of fireballs as they hit the earth. Panic and chaos consumed the jungle. Flaming trees were uprooted by huge 5 double-decker bus-sized dinosaurs, and smaller dinosaurs were squished and trampled. The night sky was brighter than the lightest day, and the moon felt hotter than the midday sun. But there was only one thing on Mummisaurus's and Diplodocus's minds: protecting their egg. They had to get their egg to safety, so they ran. They ran as fast as their dinosaur feet could carry them, desperately clinging onto that last treasured egg. They joined the stampede of thousands of terrified dinosaurs fleeing the danger, but no matter how fast and how far they ran, they couldn't seem to escape. After all, how can you run from the sky? Mummisaurus and Diplodocus were swept away into the crowd, pulled this way, pushed that way, in a great sea of dinosaurs. And as hard as they tried, they just couldn't hold on to their egg any longer. It slipped from their grip and fell to the ground. Now, I bet you're thinking that the egg was crushed instantly, right? Well, smarter clogs, clever pants. It wasn't actually. A pile of leaves broke the egg's fall, and it rolled into the stampede unharmed. It was kick-abashed and knock-aboshed every which way, but it still didn't crack. Mummisaurus and Diplodocus chased after it as it bounced in between giant Diplodocus legs and rolled under stomping Stegosaurus feet, narrowly avoiding being squished time after time. It rolled and rolled as if it had a mind of its own, falling from rocky ledges to treetops, swooshing down slushy mudslides as Mummisaurus and Diplodocus chased desperately after it. If Mummisaurus and Diplodocus had been looking up at the sky instead of trying to find their egg, they would have seen such a terrifying, heart-stoppingly, frighteningly scary sight. The whole sky was on fire above them. What they had thought was the flaming moon was in fact a whopping, gigantorific planet smasher of a meteorite. It had travelled from the deepest depths of space and was about to smash whack into planet Earth and wipe out all the dinosaurs forever. But just before the meteor did its planet smashing, the lucky egg rolled all the way to the edge of a tall, jagged cliff high above the ferocious ocean. All Chistmasaurus and Diplodocus could do was watch helplessly as their last precious egg with their tiny baby dinosaur inside calmly toppled over the edge of the cliff and out of sight, gone forever. The egg fell straight down, missing the rocky face of the cliff by millimetres. This was a very lucky egg indeed. It plopped peacefully into the ocean below, like a pebble in a lake, and instantly sank deep into the darkness, leaving the fiery chaos of the world above the waves. Eventually, it came to rest on a soft, sheltered spot on the ocean floor, as the meteor shower it left behind rained down unforgivingly, destroying every living dinosaur on the planet, except one, the one inside the egg. While the egg lay peacefully at the bottom of the ocean, the world continued to burn, and then it froze solid in an ice age that would last for thousands of years. There the egg remained deep in the ice, frozen in time, just waiting to be discovered. Okay, so Chapter 1, William Trundle. This is William Trundle. There's something you should know about William. William liked dinosaurs. Actually, he didn't just like dinosaurs. He loved them. In fact, he loved them so much. I should probably write in big letters like this. William loved dinosaurs. William had dinosaur pajamas, dinosaur socks, dinosaur pants, and dinosaur-shaped toothbrush, dinosaur wallpaper, 2 dinosaur posters, a dinosaur lampshade, and more dinosaur toys than he could fit into a bag for life. But if there was one thing William knew for sure, it was that you could never have too many dinosaurs. William lived in a wonky little house on the edge of a busy town, on the edge of a busier city. But even though the house was small, it never really felt that way because only 2 people lived in it. William and his dad, Bob Trundle. Now, I bet you're wondering why William didn't have a mum. Well, of course, he did have a mum once, but sadly she died a long time ago, when William was very young. So it had just been William and Mr. Trundle for as long as William could remember. As well as dinosaurs, William loved Christmas, but not half as much as his dad did. Mr. Trundle loved Christmas so much that whenever Christmas Day was over, he would sob uncontrollably for a whole week, sometimes until the end of January, desperately clinging onto Christmas. He even had a secret Christmas tree hidden in his wardrobe, which was permanently decorated, and it lit up when he opened the door to get his socks. Each morning, as Mr. Trundle got dressed, he would look at his secret tree and say to himself, Every step you take away from last Christmas brings you one step closer to the next. It was these words that got him through the year. On this particular morning, though, Mr. Trundle was feeling very merry indeed, but it was the first day of December. "Time to get ready for school, Willy Poos," Mr. Trundle called from the kitchen as he spread butter to 2 steaming hot crumpets, Mr. Trumble's favourite breakfast. William rolled his eyes at the silly nickname his dad used for him, Willy Poos. "Dad, you can't keep calling me that. I'm 7 3/4. It's embarrassing," William shouted from his bedroom as he stuffed his school bag full of books. "I thought we agreed that I can call you Willy Poos when you're not at school. You can't go changing the rules, willy-nilly Willy Poos," Mr. Trundle teased as he walked into his son's bedroom. "Happy 1st of December!" Mr. Trundle beamed as he placed a breakfast tray down on William's desk and nodded his head excitedly at a rectangular object perched perfectly next to the plate of golden crumpets. William followed his gaze and saw that it was a chocolate-filled advent calendar. "Thanks, Dad. Where's yours?" asked William. Every year, William and Mr. Trundle would each have an advent calendar and open a new door together every morning before school. It was a Trundle tradition. William thought he saw a flicker of sadness on Mr. Trundle's face, which was quickly replaced by a smile. "I thought it might be fun to share one this year, William," Mr. Trundle said. Lately they'd been sharing a lot of things, as Mr. Trundle didn't have very much money, but William didn't mind. "Oh, okay," he said. "I'll open the door and you can have the first chocolate, Dad." "How about I open the door and you have the first chocolate, William?" Mr. Trundle suggested. "Thanks, Dad," William said, grinning. He secretly hoped his dad would say that. "Say cheese," said Mr. Trundle as he quickly snapped a photo of the two of them. "Ah, that'll make a lovely Christmas card this year," he said, admiring the photograph. It was another Trundle tradition to make a photograph on the 1st of December for the Christmas cards they would send to a long list of their distant relatives. Auntie Kim on the Isle of Wight, Great Nana Joan, who looked like a witch, cousins Lily and Joe, Auntie Julie, second cousin Sam, Uncle H. Trundle, Great Grandpa Ken. It was a long list, half of whom William had never met. "William, have you thought about what you're going to ask Santa for this year?" "You'll need to write your letter soon," said Mr. Trundle as he peeled open the first door on the advent calendar. William took out this small snowman-shaped chocolate, but suddenly didn't feel like eating it. "My dear boy, what on earth's the matter?" asked Mr. Trundle. "Well, it's just that I don't think Santa can bring me what I want this year," said William, staring longingly at the dinosaur poster on his wall. I'm pretty sure the elves can't make real dinosaurs." "Make?" repeated Mr. Trundle as he took a knowing sip of his cup of tea. "The elves don't make anything at all." William looked very confused. "But I thought Santa's elves made all the presents in the North Pole," he said. "Ha!" cried Mr. Trundle, spitting out a mouthful of tea. "Well, William, I'm afraid that's all just a big pile of poppycock. Fiddle-faddle, mouth-waffling, gibbery-faff nonsense. Whoever told you that is a complete knobbly plank. Make presents, ha! Would you like me to tell you how my elves really work, William?" he asked, sudden sparkle in his eye. "Oh, please do, Dad," William cried, and made himself comfortable. He always loved it when his dad told him stories. He was very good at them, and he was particularly good at Christmas stories for, as you already know, Mr. Trundle loved everything about Christmas. He knew all there was to know about Santa, the elves, the North Pole. Ever since he was little boy himself, it had been the favourite time of year, and he would always be the first person to start celebrating Christmas. One year, he put up their Christmas tree in July, which really annoyed the neighbours. William loved it. Well, the first thing you should know is that elves' hands are far too small to build any decent sort of toy. And on top of that, they only have 3 fingers. 3 fingers? No way, William said, making funny shapes with his hands, trying to imagine he had 3 elf fingers. How small are elves, Dad? He asked. Very small, William. Looking at an elf is like looking at a human through a pair of binoculars. If you were holding them the wrong way round, Mr. Trundle explained. Oh, wow, said William. He knew exactly what he meant. No, the elves aren't toy makers at all, Mr. Trundle went on. There are only 2 jobs that the North Pole elves are good at, farming and mining. Let me tell you how it works, my boy. First, Santa receives letters from girls and boys from all around the world, just like you, William, asking for all different sorts of Christmas presents. Santa then sits by his fireplace in his rocking chair and reads every letter aloud. Not in his head, William. William nodded, listening intently. This is very important, William, because in his letter reading room there is a very old, very crooked, very magical Christmas tree. If you saw it, you would probably think it was a dead twig in a plant pot. But it's very important. It was the very first Christmas tree that ever lived, and it's still alive. And now it sits and listens to Santa read. A tree that listens? Really, Dad? Questioned William on his rather absurd sounding fact. Of course, all trees listen, William. Why do you think they're so quiet all the time? They're listening, of course, said Mr. Trundle, making perfect sense. As Santa reads the letters aloud, the old, crooked, magical Christmas tree sprouts branches of very peculiar-looking bean pods. Bean pods? Cried William. What on earth are bean pods? They are magical Christmas bean pods, William. And Santa picks these odd pods and gives them to the farm elves. The farm elves boil them in pots until the Christmas beans pop out. These beans are very large with red and white swirls. If you ate one, William, it would taste so delicious that your eyes would cry rainbows and then fall right out of your head, so they are never to be eaten. William nodded and made a mental note never to eat a Christmas bean. The farmer elves then take the beans out to the purest white snowfields and plant them deep in the cold powdery snow. When they're finished, all the elves gather together and wait for a sign. While they wait, they sing a song. Mr. Trundle cleared his throat and started singing the most peculiar elf song in his best elf voice. We're waiting for a sign. It's taking so much time. Hurry up, you silly Christmas beans. We want to go inside. Our bogies feel like icicles. Where is the silly sign? Hurry up, you slowpoke Christmas beans. It's nearly Christmas time. Wow, said William. The elves really sing that song. Every year, said Mr. Trundle. Then eventually, when the time is just right, the sky above the North Pole lights up in a wash of glorious dancing colours. The northern lights, yelled William. I've seen them on the telly. That's right, son. They're beautiful northern lights. That's the sign they wait for. That's when the mining elves go to work. And the mining elves do?" asked William.
"I'll tell you, my lad," Mr. Trundle happily. "They dig, dig, diggity dig under the snowfields and into the ice below, which is as thick as our house and as clear as glass, William. They aren't mining for diamonds or gold, though. They are digging for toys. The Christmas beans have worked their magic into the snow, where huge, twisty, winding roots grow downwards into the ice. And it is there, William, entwined inside these frozen roots, that all the toys for the girls and boys around the world come from. They grow in the ice made by the Christmas beans that came from the Christmas tree. They listen to Santa reading your letters." Mr. Trundle finished.
"Wow!" said William.
"Wow, indeed, William. So now you know how elves work," said Mr. Trundle.
"And now you know how elves work too, and it's true because it's in a book." Right, so that's the end of chapter 1. We will resume with chapter 2 tomorrow and find out what other adventures these elves go on. We'll find out what really happens at Christmas time in the world of the Chistmasaurus. Thank you for watching.